Next topic we are going to start is order of execution of constructor and destructor during inheritance. So before starting, you need to remember some of the rules for order of execution. The first rule is if a constructor is defined in the base class and derived class, then on creating the object of derived class, as in inheritance it is always a derived class object that is created, base class constructor will be executed first and then derived class constructor will be called. Next is order of execution of destructor will be in reverse order as that of order of execution of constructor. Next point is if a base class is having default constructor, then it is optional for derived class to have a default constructor. But if I am going to have a parameterized constructor, then it is mandatory for derived class to have a parameterized constructor which will pass the parameters to the base class constructor through initializer list. Now let's come to the program. First program that we are going to do is in case of single inheritance. The first thing I am going to have a class base class constructor and a base class destructor. Closing my class derive public base, derived class constructor I have called, and derived class destructor I have called. Coming to the main function, derived class object has been created. Now when destructor is called when object goes out of scope. So I have put here curly braces, otherwise in your system it may be not required. Now if I execute this, see the order. What the first point says, base class and derived class, then on creating object the first base class constructor will be executed, then derived class and destructor will be executed in reverse order. Now see here, base class constructor called, derived class constructor called. Now derived class destructor called and base class destructor called. Now the third point says if a base class is having default constructor, then it is optional for derived class to have default constructor. Now see here, I am going to comment derived class constructor, base constructor called, derived destructor called, base destructor called. But if I am going to have parameterized constructors, then it is mandatory to have derived class constructor as mentioned in the last point. This is all about order of execution of constructor destructor of default constructor in your single inheritance.